In the beginning, when God created the heavens and the earth was a formless void, and darkness covered the face of the deep, while a wind from God swept over the face of the waters. That's Genesis 1, Genesis chapter 1, verses 1 and 2. I'm going to read it again. In the beginning, when God created the heavens and the earth was a formless void, and darkness covered the face of the deep, while a wind from God swept over the face of the waters. My goodness, it is windy today. If you haven't been outside, all you have to do is close your eyes and listen, and you can hear the wind roaring. I feel like I'm in North Dakota. I can remember dust storms and farming in the wind and having the crazy wind blowing everywhere with just you could stand and lean and the wind could just hold you. Maybe you've had that experience too. Anyway, it reminded me today, that wind of an experience I had when I was in the Boundary Waters quite a few years ago. I was doing a solo trip, and I had been out there for about probably 4 days, and it was getting time to head back into civilization. And the day I wanted to leave was rainy but windy. I mean, windy, so windy. There was 3 and 4 foot rollers on the water that I was on, big, huge ones, and I was in a kayak. And I decided I needed to leave, so I took off and I was paddling. And I mean, you were riding these waves, and I was bouncing on these waves. And frankly, at some point, I was so terrified that I found the next campsite that I could, and I camped, and I set up my camp, and I just sat there by the water and watched the wind blow and watched these huge waves. And as I was sitting there, just kind of gathering myself, I watched this eagle come kind of soaring over the cliffs, and he just sat there, and he rode this massive wind right in front of me, and he just rode this wind like he was on waves, and it was incredible. And so I'm watching that and still being scared and still being glad I found a campsite and watching this eagle. And then across the lake, I see something, and I look, and it's coming closer to me, and it's a man, and it's a little elderly man in a canoe, big white beard and hat, and had all kind of the camping clothes, and he's paddling in the water. Now, if you would have seen me paddling in the water, it would have been this frantic movement, this panic. But not this guy. I could see his gear in his canoe, and he was just slow and steady. His paddle was stroking the water and just moving himself along slow and steady. And what he had done is he had moved his canoe across the lake. He fought all the big waves first, and he was paddling across the lake on the other side where he had some shelter from some higher cliffs. But I was kind of amazed, because it was clear that he wasn't nervous, that he wasn't scared, that he was experienced and had everything that he needed. And I guess I think about that a lot, all the time actually, when I hear the wind and see the wind, that over time we can learn that God's with us, and that our experience shows us that we can trust God and that God's faithful. But it's just the fact that he wasn't afraid, that the wind somehow was not something to be avoided or afraid of, but it was something to move with and interact with. And I love that about the Genesis text, that the wind of God, this Spirit of God, is itself this creative force. And so when I look out in the world, like today, I mean, I can look out my window right now, and if you're somewhere right now where you can hear the wind, just pause for a moment and listen. I mean, in the beginning, when God created the heavens and the earth was a formless void, and darkness covered the face of the deep, while the wind from God swept over the face of the waters. God was there in the beginning. God's Spirit is here now, and God's Spirit leads us forward into the future. I hope that you're finding God in your day today. If not, I invite you to listen to the wind. Remember God's Spirit, and may you find God blowing in your life and creating faith in you so that you can live with calm and with peace. Have a blessed day.